Right, to help preview Ireland and England, we're bringing the heat this morning. One's a former World Player of the Year, Ireland captain, one's a World Cup winner, and they were Lions teammates. I'm delighted to welcome Keith Wood and Matt Dawson to the show. Matt, we're feeling a little bit confident ahead of this game. How are you feeling at the moment?
I'm feeling really confident. Really confident. It's going to be a great weekend, and Ireland are going to win the Grand Slam.
Right,
I'm pretty confident of that.
Are you over to play the Legends match beforehand?
Absolutely not. No, I'm coming over Thursday. I've got a bit of work to do with Five Live, but to be perfectly honest, I'm going to soak up every single minute of those 3 days, because it's, for all the reasons that I'm sure that you've been speaking about over the last few days. It's going to be a very, very special weekend, and one that if you're a rugby fan, you want to be a part of.
You're one of the few people in the world who know what it's actually like to win a Grand Slam in Ireland, because it's never happened in our history before. But you guys managed it.
Do you know what? I put a call in to Steve Borthwick on Monday and just said, listen, just give yourself half a chance, and when you walk out, go and stand on the wrong side, stand on the Irish side, because that really upsets them. And you've got half a chance. I think it's listen, England of course are going to come out and they're going to be hurting from what happened against France, but to be perfectly honest, you can be hurting all you like. England don't really have the game plan to play against Ireland. I think Ireland will not be anywhere near complacent. I think they will be focused, they will be charged, they will be motivated to do something that no one in a green shirt has ever done before, and they just seem so cool and calm and collected at the moment. And if I may say, I feel like they're in a little bit of a zone that we were back 20 years ago, where it didn't matter what people threw at you. We were just ready to take it on, and we actually embraced the adversity. And Ireland look like that at the moment. They look like they're ready, and and good on them.
Yeah, Keith, I think that that's an excellent point, and it's the one that Andy Farrell has been talking about the whole way through, about looking forward to challenges. And this stretches all the way back to the week after they got beaten by New Zealand. That sense of, this is a big challenge for us. That's what we're in the game for. And we were all sceptical about it at the start, but now I think everybody believes that, because the evidence is on the field of play. For a game like this, there's talk in the papers about complacency, but I guess to Matt's point, this isn't about complacency for the Ireland team at all. Their motivation is to go and make history, and that's the thing that's exciting them, it seems like.
I think the fact that it's in the papers about complacency is that there's an awful lot of pundits and reporters who have only ever dealt with that level of complacency in the past, and things have gone well, and for me, the joy of watching the team kind of play and grow at the moment is there seems to be an unbelievable level of honesty coming from Andy Farrell. So where he's saying, he's appreciating the difficulties and the reaction that the team have to go through, and he's not castigating players for trying different things. He's still trying to get them to push their standard all the time, to go for the pass if the pass is on, and then to make the pass. But when those passes don't go to hand, or when a tackle is missed, I don't know that he's coming down on them like a ton of bricks. I think he's saying, we want you to try it, we want you to believe, and they're giving them the scope to have small minor failures in the midst of a game, So if you looked at our defensive setup for this Six Nations, we've missed more tackles than we ever have, but we're playing the most exciting style of rugby and we're winning, So I don't think that there's complacency within the team at all. I think there's an expectation that they go out, start fast and play well all the way to 80. They look very fit. They look very strong. It's not a worry, but the disruption of losing a chunk of players last week, which worked fantastic on the day, we now have a full week where we're trying to integrate other players in. But for me, the system is strong enough to take it. But I don't think it'll be quite as much of a walkover as some of the people who are half confused with the idea of complacency, and then the fact that this is an international match that they'll win by 30 points easily. There's a quite interesting confusion in some of the commentary.
Yeah, Matt, there's a couple of things I'd like to talk to you about. One is the imprints of Stuart Lancaster, and obviously the fact that Andy Farrell is an Englishman, and we have Mike Catt involved as well. Is there any sense in English rugby that somehow this is a brains trust that got away?
Do you know what? There hasn't been that narrative actually in English rugby around that yet. I'm sure that when Ireland come up with the goods at the weekend, then that will be mentioned. But no, it's not really been a story. Plenty of English coaches or English ex-players and coaches have gone to international rugby. I think if anything, it's more of a story for those coaches rather than the public. I think that there was Lancaster, Farrell, Catt particularly. He was a colleague of Keith and ours from the Lions tours. He has got such an unbelievable brain in the game, but has never been able to really lay it out there in an environment that Keith was talking about there, in an environment where the consequences weren't necessarily managed to an inch of their lives. And I think now that it doesn't actually matter where the coaches come from. I mean, listen, Ireland have had New Zealand coaches, Ireland coaches, English coaches previously. I think it's the mindset is so connected between what the players want to do when they go on the field and the types of coaches that they are. They're players, coaches, not management coaches. As I say, they're probably, given what could happen at the weekend, I think that narrative might well take over. So you potentially have sparked up yet another reason for the English media to jump on their backs, and maybe the RFU should have kept the likes of Andy Farrell and Mike Catt and Stuart Lancaster. But listen, they're doing a great job. I'm very, very proud of to see what they can do, because it sets the benchmark. And England need to find a benchmark pretty quick.
Matt, we were talking about this yesterday. Jack Van Poortvliet came up at scrum half, and Matt Williams was making the point that he didn't feel like he was up to international standards just yet. I know you were writing about this week with your column on BBC Sport. How many of this English team, if any, are world class at the moment? Because it feels like the first time in a generation where maybe they're struggling for any in that bracket.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there are no players in that team that are world class at the moment. There are a handful of players in that squad that have been world class and have the capabilities of being world class, but they're absolutely not there at the moment. I think there's a misconception that you can generalise really good play by saying you're world class. Well, world class effectively means if there's a world 15, you're in it. And there is not a chance there is anyone from that England side being in a world 15. To answer your question on Jack Van Poortvliet, there's a good case study where, I watch a lot of Premiership rugby, and I've never seen Jack Van Poortvliet play like that. He has been, his game has been somewhat drawn out of him because of the way that England want the style to be. And not that I have spoken to him, but if I did, I would say, listen, mate, go back to how you play at Leicester. Give pace in the game, be a threat around the fringes. Put pressure on your fellow players to play in an intensity and a decision-making intensity that the opposition are going to struggle at. Everybody in the world can deal with, one phase and a box kick. And are you going to do that to Hugo Keenan? Absolutely no chance. You're going to get ripped apart. So it's just a matter of those England players gaining a bit more confidence about how they play week to week and coming up with a strategy, which is going to take time. That's not going to happen in a week before they go to Dublin. No chance.
Keith, from an Ireland perspective, obviously we lost both our hookers early in the game, and then Cian Healy comes on and plays. Can you talk to us a little bit about your admiration for what Healy managed to do, and then I presume it's Herring back this week. So first off, Healy, what did you make of that?
Look, there's a variety of pieces on that. For one, Healy's an incredible professional. B, the fact that they had him marked down as a hooker shows a fine sense of forethought, because you have to be marked as one to be able to be safe for insurance reasons, actually, that you have to be able to play in that position. And the fact that he'd be able to do it. Now, I would have played against 3 prop front rows back in the day. That was a big Argentinian thing. It was a French thing for quite a while in the early 90s. So it can be done. And the game has changed a little, so that the striking isn't quite as far-reaching as it used to be. You know, the ball goes in a little bit more crooked than it used to in our day. But to raise your foot at all for a prop under pressure in the middle of a scrum is terrifying. So, you know, it's an extraordinary thing to do. I mean, we used to do it every now and then. We put the backs into the front row just to show how hard it was that we had to work for them not to knock on the ball in the back line. But just for pressure, without pushing, the pressure that goes down on the neck when you're going to strike the ball is terrifying if you're not used to it. And it takes a while to get used to. It took him 1 scrum. So for that, it's pretty extraordinary. I loved the thinking that went on, the prep that was done so that a player can go into the scrum and feel confident. Of course, when it went on to the opposition ball, he was just, it's like he's a huge beast of a man. So he's in a great position to push straight and push hard and put the team under pressure. So I thought our scrum actually got stronger when he went in, and that's a very unusual thing. I did send him a message afterwards that welcomed him to the club, but it's a funny, again, it's just a rare thing that you see. And for me, it opens up a whole variety of unusual questions that I would never have liked to have opened up when I was playing. Do you have to have the hooker throwing the ball into the line-out? Because Van der Fleer threw incredibly well. And can you have different players playing in different positions? It's, that have different sizes or skill sets. But on this one day, the results were phenomenal, because if it went to uncontested scrums, that takes a lot of pressure off a team that's trying to chase a game, and that never happened.
What about Herring? Do we lose much if Herring starts next weekend?
No, I'm a fan of Herring. I'm not a fan of him by comparison to Cian or Kelleher. I think Cian is world class, actually. I think he has the touches to be one of the absolute greats in the game. I don't know what the story is with his injury. I think Kelleher seems to be out definitely. Herring is not as powerful, but is accurate in the line out. He's a really good international player. I mean, we're well served, and we hadn't been for a period of time. We only ever had 1 or 2, maybe one injury away from almost panic stations. But now we have Herring, I think, and if Cian isn't there, maybe Stuart's 2 guys from Ulster coming into it, so that might happen. So, no, I wouldn't worry about that at all. If we were talking about the team, and it'd be interesting whether Matt has a view on this, but for me, the biggest change looking at Ireland this year is that there is a structure that people can fit into that doesn't depend on you being taking on a mantle of a playmaker or a mantle of where you have to be at 100% straight away. There's about 4 or 5 different options nearly for every pass at the moment. I haven't seen that for a while. So when players are training in that system for 6 or 7 weeks and they drop into it, yeah, you can change players. So I thought Ross Byrne came onto the field the other day and looked at his most comfortable in an unbelievably difficult match.
Yeah, Matt, was that one of the hallmarks of your team when you were at the level that was competing and winning a World Cup?
Yeah, I certainly do see a lot of similarities that or a lot of the sort of methodology of Ireland at the moment and their strategy from when I was, all those years ago. It sort of feels to me that when I watch Ireland, they're like they sort of have this military precision in the way that they play, and as Keith alluded to there, just that everybody can slot into every single position and they know exactly where they are, and all the uniforms are beautifully positioned and and boots polished, and it looks so neat, and everybody is moving in unison with one another, and it's just it feels that it feels to me that they go on the field with no arrogance, but an absolute confidence that if they just do what they're supposed to do, they're going to get themselves into positions to score. And that probably then leads towards what Keith's talking about, is those individual playmakers that maybe Ireland have had in the past that stand out, Keith being one of them, Brian O'Driscoll being another, Johnny Sexton in his early years. Whereas now they are all at such an incredible level, and they all sit in this brilliant regime, which gives them a flexibility to do what they need to do, but also what they want to do. But it really does has a feel of it. And usually this sounds really negative. It's sort of mechanical, robotic. But it's as if they've found the new human robot that can do a breakdance and as well as sit down and have dinner and do all the mannerisms you possibly want. It's so well oiled. I genuinely can't see anyone other than France on a crazy day in Paris pushing them at the moment. It's going to be difficult to keep that over the next 6 months, of course. But right now they're the real deal for sure.
Two quick questions about England before we let you go, Matt. The Tuilagi is a ghost for Ireland because every time he's played us, he has beaten us. He's literally, it was his physicality that caused the injury that ended David Wallace's career. They smashed us 4 years ago when we thought, we're going to roll into the Six Nations and head off to Japan and be really happy. And he just came on the first throw in at a line out, smashed our midfield. There was a knock on. The game was over at Lansdowne Road, and it's like, oh my God, he's back. He's back this weekend. One player can't entirely change anything, but suddenly there's something for England to hang their hat on.
Well, I mean, if Manu is fit, then he would probably play, because England do need momentum. They do need something that is going to change the picture for the referee, for the opposition, for them to be concerned about. So I would expect Manu to maybe come in and cause a little bit of damage early on, but I'm not sure that's enough against the Ireland side. I think you've given a couple of examples there where in years gone by that may have sort of ruffled the feathers and have discombobulated the Ireland team to a point where, but I just can't see that happening. I mean, I'd love it to happen. Don't get me wrong. I mean, bringing Manu back and giving England that kickstart and gathering all of that energy and passion that England need to have when they play away from home. But from what I've seen from Ireland at the moment, they'll probably soak it up and take all that energy out of England and move somewhere else.
And the other one was about Billy Vunipola. Do you think he would improve the team if he was in the squad at the moment?
The number 8 discussion is a long one. I've been away for a couple of days, and that keeps on cropping up with everybody who wants to talk to me about English rugby. Alex Donbrad did not have a good day at the office. He has he's got plenty of things to prove if he wants to say that he's the number 8 for England at that type of intensity. Who on earth do England then pick? Do they pick Sam Simmons? Do they put Ludlam at 8? Do you bring back Billy Vunipola, who from all accounts has had a bit of a falling out with Steve Borthwick? Is Steve Borthwick going to put that aside just for one game? I'm not too sure. There is not a depth of number 8s coming through that are of the quality of Ireland, France, New Zealand, South Africa. That and as Keith knows just as much as I do, your number 8 is a real barometer, like the hooker, like the number 8, like your fullback. It's a real barometer of how you play and the intensity that you play. And I mean, as you identified, that is one position that needs something. So maybe Billy is the man. He's not played international rugby for a while, but it's all hands on deck. It's whatever you can possibly do to get yourself through 80 minutes and try and scrape a win or try and scrape a performance. Even that hurts by saying it. But if England perform well at the weekend, that might be enough. I mean, that's ridiculous for me to say that even if England don't win but they perform, that might be enough for this team. That hurts, but it might well be the case.
Yeah, Keith, listening to that, Ireland should win this game. What's your prediction?
Yeah, look, I just want to touch on one bit for Matt. I think England have been fairly destabilised by having players picked and dropped with huge regularity over the last number of years. There hasn't been that consistency of selection. And at times we've criticised Andy Farrell that he hasn't made enough changes. But he has built the system that now the changes can fit in without it being destabilising. And that's been the difference. So for me, when I look at this game then at the weekend, I've loved the last two performances. They've been very different, but I've loved them for what they were. There was a 12-minute period in the second half the other day, the start of the second half. It was the slowest 12 minutes I can remember ever watching, whether that was just anticipation or what was going on the field. But it was an amazingly intense game of rugby and a great game of rugby. We picked up a lot of injuries from it, but I thought the manner in which we won led to this weekend. So a lot still comes down to additional injuries, still comes down to yellow cards and red cards. And I think our discipline has been very, very good. And that's one thing that kind of takes a little bit of the energy or gives us a little bit more energy, that our discipline has been very good with it. I think it'll be a really, really tough. England can't change how they're playing. They're going to kick an awful lot of ball. They're going to try and carry the ball a lot heavier and harder and try and poke holes in it, because to change into a wider, expansive game at the moment with a team with a very low confidence level doesn't seem likely. So they're going to try and do their game plan, but do it better than they have at a higher intensity. That will cause damage at different times, but I do think Ireland will be able to withhold it. So I think we win. I think we win by sort of 10, 12 points. Not 20 points, 30 points, 40 points, the way people are presuming will automatically happen. This is the last game of the Six Nations. This is a huge game for us. I hope we play with the same level of ambition. And our ambition is to score tries as often as we possibly can. But I expect England to have their best performance of the year. Because I think that they have the pride will be to do it. I think it was a chastening experience for them last weekend.
Final word to you, Matt. What's your prediction?
I would take 10, 12 points all day long. I think that would be a good performance for England to get within 10 of Ireland right now. It will all be down to the last probably 20, 25 minutes. If Ireland are in good control of the game and the scoreboard, then as we saw at the weekend, have England got the fitness, have England got the mindset to hang on and really dig in for 25 minutes, and the way that Ireland are so clinical, it could be, more towards 20 points win. But I do lean more towards what Keith's saying there. I think just the occasion is going to be so intense for both sides. It's more than likely going to be tight, but I'll say Ireland by 15.
Gents, great to have you with us. Former Lions teammates Keith Wood and Matt Dawson, thanks a million for joining us today, folks.
Cheers, gents.
Pleasure.